Here we are again. We're hanging out.
This is the last day of the Digital Dealer Conference in Tampa. And, we had a really good night's sleep last night, which we really, really badly needed. I was coming off 2 nights of 4 hours, and it's just, I don't work that way. I just don't work that way.
No, yeah, it was a good night's sleep. We ran hard. We like our legs were done. I said we were coming back from the digital dealer party across at American Social last night, and I said I'm going to take off my shoes and literally my feet are going to balloon out of them. So yeah.
But that doesn't mean there's not a lot to talk about. Aside from just we say it all the time, right? The energy was amazing, right? And it can get very complacent because we say that all the time. But there's a different. We said that at NADA, but here at Digital Dealer, even after second night of conversation, it's an amazing feeling when someone comes up and they're like, "I feel the same way," right? And they're like, "I didn't know other people thought that way," and you realize they just start coming out of the woodwork. There is a literal undercurrent of people. A lot of them are in this community, right? But others are coming to it, right? Like a beacon. Yeah. And that is what gets me so excited because there are a lot of others that haven't even started to find out about what's going on.
We get the words, we just get thank you a lot, right?
Yeah.
And I think that it's like, oh yes, there's a thing that I can be attached to that other people are believing and thinking in the same way. And so I think just recognizing that there are not just others out there that are believing, thinking, working toward the same thing, but also that there are probably others that don't even know it exists that are searching for it, or maybe they're not even searching for it, but there's like this recognition that there's something more.
There's got to be something else, right? Because they feel it. It's palpable.
Exactly.
But so that went on quite a bit last night. We went to the digital dealer party that they have on the second night of every event. And we joke because we get back to the hotel room and we realize we started 6 conversations that we never finished because someone inevitably always comes up and says hi. And then we get in just an amazing conversation.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And then we start talking about something and then it happens again and again and again. And every single conversation is like this, right? Is people, they have this idea or they saw a piece of content or they connected at a different angle and they're like, I was really thinking about this. And we're like, yes, this person's a troublemaker.
Exactly. We had a great conversation last night with a young team, right? Yeah. That's been put together by someone that has been so faithful in the ASOTA community and really given so much life to it. But they've put together this marketing team that is young and vibrant, and they're out here at Digital Dealer, but they're not just here. The way that they're talking about the brand that they represent and the stores that they represent and the things that they get to do. They've got a social media coordinator, an SEO person, and they've got a website person. They've got a project manager, and they're
a CRM person,
just this young, vibrant, excited, right? And then we meet the one guy this morning and it's like, we were just up with people in the industry till 6:30 in the morning.
Right. And he was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. He was
ready to go. He's like, I've got things to do today.
He's like, I don't drink. Right. He's like, no. He's like, we were just talking about the industry and just
yes.
And I can't do that anymore.
No, we were tapped out.
We were joking. We were like, okay, I'm older than I realized.
Exactly.
I remember those days.
But that's the kind of energy that's around the industry and that's finding the others.
It is.
Right.
It is. So we do have some fun news to talk about today. Today feels good to get back. Yesterday, it was more like we talked about some news, but we were still in the hustle of the floor. Today, we had a little more time to set up, a little more time to build the show. And we're reading the news and we're going back and forth. Hey, did you know this? Like, what? Yeah. It's been a whole day. Right?
Yeah. Like we're so used to kind of being in and around the news
all day
you get away from it. And all of a sudden you're like, look how many things happened.
But sometimes, honestly, nothing happens.
Right. Yes.
Right. Sometimes, Chris is walking around looking for a story. Yeah, we're like, I don't know. I mean, we can talk about the same stuff again.
Right.
But today there's actually a lot of nostalgia. We'll call it some. There's nostalgia, right? Because it's back in the day, and I think there's some modern nostalgia going on right now with Carvana. But first, we want to talk about something near and dear to our hearts. We're both musicians, right? We both love music, and the Apple has announced that they will be sunsetting the iPod.
Can we just have a moment for that?
We have a video clip from Apple's first release of the iPod, and this is back in 2001. Do you remember your life in 2001?
I do remember my life in 2001. Yeah, I just this will like put a solid that kid's young right on me. But no, I was just starting high school in 2001. And look, if you don't think that the iPod was like the thing you had to have,
It was so groundbreaking.
it was unbelievable. And what's really wild to me with the iPod, and I kind of put this in the show notes, this was my note on this, is like the reality of how innovative and how inventive the iPod was in that moment. To go from like literally in 1999, 2000, the thing was the Walkman or the CD-ROM player, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody, like it was so. And do you remember the CD-ROM players? Like you click it shut and then you click it shut too many times and then it would pop open every time. So you had a piece of tape on the thing, right? Yeah. All of the and the Walkman before that, and then all of a sudden this massive innovative thing drops and everybody's like, this is the most crazy thing that I've ever seen in my whole life.
Mind blowing.
And only 3 years later, they literally start to replace it with the fact that we now have a smartphone.
It's actually part of the phone.
Yeah.
So
it's a wild innovation.
So initially, here's the sales pitch for the iPod. It can hold over 1,000 songs. Over 1,000
Isn't that nuts?
songs.
Yeah. We were actually talking last night. We were like, and remember the first one that came out? It was a massive. It felt like it was
brick. It was a good half-inch thick. And this might sound crazy. It had a mechanical hard drive in it.
Yes.
It had a mechanical hard drive. And for those of you who remember, eventually, just inevitably, mechanical hard drives always fail at some point. And so they had an issue where all of a sudden, like, it wouldn't move. In the sense you had the little jog dial, but it would just stop, right? You wouldn't be able to like switch songs or anything. And so the trick was you had to hold it about, 4 inches above the tabletop and then drop it.
And just drop it. Yeah.
And it would drop. And then it would kind of like jar the needle.
Yeah.
And then it would work for a while. And then eventually you drop it too many times. And so it had a mechanical hard drive, but the CD players, the Walkman CD players that we had before that.
Yeah.
Do you remember anti-skip protection?
Yeah.
In the beginning.
Absolutely.
You walked with it or you had it in your car and you literally couldn't like move it because the laser would skip and then your music would skip.
That's exactly what happened.
Then they started building a little memory into them. So it would scan 3 seconds and then there was 5 seconds and then there was 13 seconds and it would scan so it could like get past the skips because it's playing from the cache.
Yes, exactly.
And so when in 2001, I had graduated high school and I was kind of, I think, first year of college. And this is how you rolled. I had a big fat portfolio full of like 120 discs.
All the discs.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Like, what do I listen to? And you're like flipping through them. This is not that long ago. So for all of you who just what's the year probably? If you were born after 1990, you probably didn't live with much of that.
Not much of it. I think like 90, like up to 94, 95.
If you're
probably
born after 2000, it's over. You're like, what are you guys even talking about?
Right. Exactly.
So, I mean, it's near and dear to our hearts. The iPod, and there's still some left. I mean, obviously they moved to the iPod Touch, right? Which is basically a phone without the phone functionality.
Right.
You can still get those, but I mean, the original iPods, they're gone, but it was an unbelievable groundbreaking. And the real takeaway is that
and now they're sunsetting the whole brand, right?
Yeah.
Like the whole iPod brand. And so like you said, the takeaway is innovation moves fast and being willing to say like, no, we got past that. It was a time, it was necessary. It was necessary for us to innovate, do that.
Yeah.
And then now move past it. I think about like the way that I think about this is, right, early on, I mean, everything that you knew in selling cars was a Foursquare, right?
Yeah.
That's how you pencil car deals.
This is how you do it.
And then all of a sudden we had desking softwares and paper came out. And that was an innovation in the late 2000s, really, right? It was like to print a paper thing to put on the paper that had a desking solution. And that's still a reality for a lot of people today, which is not a very long timeline to move into a new innovative space. And so realizing that change for change's sake is not the best way to go.
Never.
But change because there's something new that necessitates a new customer experience, and understanding that sunsetting the old thing doesn't mean you're letting it die because it was bad. It just was a necessary tool to get you to the next thing.
Without a doubt.
And I think there's so much of that in automotive right now that we just need to be looking at. So yeah.
Don't hang on. You have to let go of one vine to get on the other one. And
there you go.
The iPod RIP. Talk about letting things go. I wish we had the segue back. Speaking of letting go.
That would be more like, stop, segue.
Record scratch. Carvana is not only on a higher, they're freezing the salaries of their executives.
Yes.
And they're letting 2,500
people go, which is 12% of their entire workforce. So for me, this is a somber moment, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's obvious that there is profitability issues, that there's staffing issues, and that's 2,500 people that woke up yesterday thinking they had work and today don't. And so I look, no matter what your feeling is about Carvana, like that is a company that has people in our communities, that is in automotive, that is having to make decisions about their people strategy. And so,
and these are operations folks.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're letting go of operational staff. So, I mean, auto dealers.
Yeah.
Talk about having an opportunity to scoop up 2,500 folks who have probably been trained really well, probably have some great insights into doing things a little bit differently. Man, I'm targeting these people.
So many. I saw so many LinkedIn posts coming yesterday afternoon. Like, hey, look, over here, right? I saw some large dealer groups in Michigan and in out west saying like, hey, look, if you're close, we've got space. Like, we need to hire. We're ready for you to come on.
You know what I think is going to happen? So this is another layer of something I didn't think about. We never talk about this. Actually, we talk about, auto dealers being a supporter of the community and an employer, but think of the level of consistency and stability in employment.
Yeah.
In automotive. When was the last time you heard about an auto dealer laying people off? I don't think I've ever heard that.
No, and I remember in the pandemic, it was intentional that so many auto dealers were like, we will not.
Absolutely. Right? Who's doing that?
So good.
Who's doing that? And like, even that, it's like, you can even put an asterisk next to that, the whole pandemic thing.
Right.
But like, you think of like, there is a definite disadvantage to working for big corporate America, publicly traded corporate America, right?
When you're beholden to stockholders.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. Exactly.
Right. When you play with public money, right? You're also a slave to public opinion.
Yep.
And now, like, obviously they're just closed on the ADESA deal.
Yep.
And really these announcements came kind of simultaneously, I believe.
Yeah. So yesterday, they finalized the deal to purchase ADESA after Apollo had kind of rescued them with that money last week. And so they were able to actually like ink that thing and make it move forward.
Right.
So, so between that and then heading straight to talk to employees. So you're like, we're going to spend 2.2 billion, right? But because of the profit line and because of the way that we're operationally not sound, we've got to make these employee decisions. It's such an interesting dynamic.
Some employees took to Twitter to talk about how coldly the news was served.
Yeah.
And it
wasn't like, oh, thanks for the time there.
Yeah. Right.
It was some fighting words.
We've done some amazing. Right. And so that's another layer. Like, you think about a layer deeper in brand.
Yeah.
Right. And you think of the billboard you see with a car with a halo around it, and the perception and the display of what car dealers are like. And this situation is very opposite. Like, who do you want to work for? And not only who do you want to work for, like, it's like, who do you want to do business with?
Yep.
Right. In an environment when people like the little guy has a voice, and the underdog or the little guy is usually surrounded by the larger community and larger culture. It'll be interesting to see how that turns out. But I think it's look, your true colors start to show.
Without
right. And their true colors, not that they're not at all that they're bad people, not at all, but the true colors are that, like, they operate a publicly traded company, like a publicly traded company.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And it's not as warm and personal as walking in a showroom, seeing the owner with the family name. And so, so I hope those 2,500 people, I assume they're going to find employment very, very quickly.
Very quickly. And I hope that it's an automotive. And I really hope they have an even renewed sense of energy toward the retail automotive industry.
Can you imagine if some of these people get a job at like Carter Myers or Beaver Toyota?
Right.
They're going to be like, and all these years
we were talking bad about this.
Whatever the propaganda was, they're going to realize the reality. I hope that happens too. And look, if if you happen to be watching this and you are, just send us a DM. We will connect you.
We will
with
find you somewhere.
Very
without
best places to work in the country ever. No exception. I mean, some of these, I might be unemployable at this point in my life. I've been an entrepreneur for so long, right. but there are just one or two folks
that
in
you're
this
like,
country
I would pick up.
I would work there.
Yeah,
I would work there and do whatever I could.
Yep.
So that's that.
We got one more fun one.
This is the nostalgia, way further back than the iPod.
Way further back, yes. So Volkswagen has announced that they are bringing back the Scout, but not as just a vehicle line. They're going to separate it as a total EV off-road brand
in United States, focused on the American consumer.
I love it.
Right? The Scout is like a little boxy car, right? A little rugged, little off-road. And VW's always been a brand company.
Always.
Right?
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Ever since that Think Small campaign, right? Where you have the big billboard and they're like, look, everyone's saying this. You want this tiny car? In an age when it was like huge Buicks, right? And Cadillacs. And it was like, they were like, you know what? There's no hiding it. This thing's tiny. So they literally listed the features, like featuring, it was like 13-inch wheels,
yes.
right? Right. A small cabin to cool, right? Whatever it is. Like, and they just like listed all the tiny features. Oh, we lost the light. We can actually move this over if that battery's dead. They featured all the small things because they understood brand marketing, and they had this big old picture in this little tiny car, right? They did this low cost of maintenance. It only takes like 2 quarts of oil.
So smart. It's just lean into what you have.
And then you go through the years, and they've always been in touch with the human side of the business. You know, I remember probably one of the ones that I love is the Star Wars commercial where the little kid, right? He's dressed up like Darth Vader, and he walks out to the car and he puts his hand up.
Yes.
And the dad like clicks the remote.
It.
The kid looks up. He's like,
what?
I have the Force, right? And so these cars look super cool.
They do look super cool.
Isaac,
I think we've got an image
throw them back
right?
up, Isaac. They were up here. And there's 2 versions. There's a pickup truck version, and there's like a little SUV version.
Yeah, but like not an SUV, just a really cool thing.
It's like a little Range Rover. The tires look really cool. I mean, we'll see how close they look, but VW's pretty good about bringing the concept to life.
Absolutely.
You know, like some
been
companies always
in that
disappoint
way.
the crap out of me when they bring like, oh, that's the production model.
Right.
Like talk about a bait and switch. They decided, they made a very conscious decision to not try to compete with the large truck market, right?
Yep.
Obviously, a huge market in the US. So, but like, you know, it's dominated by Ford and Chevy and Ram. And so they said, we're actually going to go pick up, but more like the Ford Maverick size.
Yep.
And they're going to invest $100 million in a plant here in the US. And they're saying like, this is what the American consumer wants.
And they're going to roll them out pretty quickly, right?
2026.
Wow.
Which is 4 years before.
It's not 2030.
2030. Right. So they're expecting 2 models by 2026. You know, obviously they're going to leverage, I'm assuming, I didn't read this, but they're going to probably leverage their existing platforms.
Without it.
Right. You know what I mean? And build around it. But this is one of those cars I'm actually really excited about.
It's going to be really fun.
I would probably drive one of these.
I know, right? I think that especially like these OEMs taking that like brand approach on something new and fresh will give them a new marketing approach. It'll give them a fresh way to engage with consumers, fresh way to engage with dealers. And so I'm excited to see what they do about it.
We should get John Luciano on because I know
There
he
you
probably
go.
has the
He's
details.
got an opinion.
We can squeeze him for some deets.
Yep.
Maybe he'll dish a little bit. You know?
There you go. Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. He'll punch a little bit for sure.
Yeah. So there we go. It's kind of like a day of nostalgia. We have a day of work ahead of us. We're still here at the conference, but this is one of the rare times where we're in person together.
Yeah,
we have some of our team here. So we're going to actually plan and plot out the future of the movement. And we have some fun announcements. Look, block off your calendars. Second week of September.
Yep.
We're getting a little closer to announcing something.
Yeah.
We're going to put together an event that we think might just shake it up quite a bit.
Yeah.
So we're really excited.
We're going to have a lot of fun with that. And so, yeah, just keep your eye out for that event. For sure.
But until then, stay connected as much as you can. We know that if you're watching this right now, you're already a troublemaker. You're already in the community. But we guarantee you there are hundreds and thousands of other people out there who believe the same things and need to be here. So whether that's the live stream, the podcast, our social media channels on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, we're trying to drip feed some trouble all day, every day. And of course, the email is the center point. I got to say this one time. Our senior writer, Chris, was on site here.
He was literally the life of Digital Dealer. I think everybody actually came to see Chris.
You got to give him some love because he's one of the kindest, most likable, funny people. I mean, I don't even know. I don't know how else to explain him, but all that to say, if you don't get the daily email, you need to get the daily email that he writes. And, we work together, put it together, but he's kind of the heart of the email now.
Yeah.
And you won't be disappointed. You can get it at asotu.com. Sign up for it. I'm telling you, you'll be really, really happy you did. But until next time, tomorrow we're flying home tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow. And we'll be back in the saddle as usual on a Google Meet for 8 hours a day.
There you go. Exactly.
Until then, keep it real, keep sharing the things, bring people into this community. We need you and we need them.